These are quite a few graphs about vanadium to give you a sense of the overall picture. Vanadium today, I think what is important to understand is produced 70% as a co-product of steel making. Most producers in China, in Russia, are recovering vanadium from steel slag and produce a vanadium pentoxide and trioxide from that process. Largo is a primary producer. Today, the primary production of vanadium accounts for about 18% of the global supply, and vanadium production from spent catalyst, what we call secondary production, only accounts for about 12%. What is very important to understand about vanadium is, as you see, 70 plus 12% are sources of vanadium as byproducts. So the supply of vanadium is very inelastic. So when consumption of vanadium increases, it's very hard for the industry to adapt quickly, and that creates a lot of volatility, both on the upside and the downside of vanadium. So vanadium has been, over time, a very volatile commodity. We're working hard to try and decrease this volatility that is not good for us, but also not for our customers. In terms of demand by sector, you can see in the graph below, in the middle, it's more than 90% in the steel industry. Aerospace is only 4.5%. It used to be more, but as you can all imagine, aerospace was one of the industry most hit by COVID, so this is currently recovering. And in terms of supply by region, it's dominated by China, that accounts for about 50% and also accounts for about 50% of the demand globally. Largo is very well placed in the cost curve. As you can see, we have one of the lowest cost of production in the industry, and we see ourselves as one of the most stable and highest purity producer globally.
The demand story being given, what happened to manganese ore supply this year, and it's the main question of the presentation. In fact, we grew in the first half of the year, but that would be logical considered the base effect. I mean, due to lockdowns, South Africa did not export anything, India far less, and a lot of countries had some problem. So that's quite normal. But the levels are still lower than what we had in the second semester in 2020. So the production failed to go back to its previous levels. Various reasons for that. South Africa, firstly, we look at that in the next slide. But globally, freight rates just put marginal producers in a very complicated situation. They are just not profitable anymore, or a lot of them are not profitable anymore. I'm thinking about Southeast Asia, so Malaysia, Myanmar, Brazil also has its fair share of problem. The Vale Azul mine closed in Q2 2020. It did not reopen. We had also Biritirama with great financial problems. Apparently they are out of it now, but they have been hit quite hard. Plus you had the pandemic, for example, in Brazil, which was quite harsh. So a lot of countries kind of constrained in terms of supply they could put on the market. Apart from them, we still had Gabon, so it would be Comilog, Eramet, and Nouvelle Gabon Mining still ramp-upping on the capacity increase. Ghana back finally to its, cruise level, so to speak. And South Africa, I mean, the increase we show here are not anywhere near what they used to. They have used us to. Between 2012 and 2019. So it's a very little increase compared to what they were able to do in H2 2020.
It's quite a contrast with a flat to low ore price and very high alloy prices. This is kind of the reverse to what we've generally come to expect in manganese, where we've often seen the ore price very high and the alloy prices disappointing. But this is the opposite. We thought a couple of months ago that heading into Q3, Q4, we'd perhaps start to see the alloy prices soften, even if just a bit. But actually, that's not been what's happened. The alloy prices have continued to rise, and most people seem to think that that's going to be the situation at least through the rest of this year, and it may be even heading into 2022, where we're going to be seeing these high alloy prices for some time. And really, there's been still a considerable overhang from COVID on the market, and it'll probably take these COVID impacts to disappear before the prices can really normalize.
Yes, thanks, Kevin. Again, a very good question. I think there's no doubt China has been driving the demand for vanadium globally, and that started more than 20 years ago, but was probably exacerbated in 2018 when China enforced a new regulation on rebar and the high strength steel for the construction industry that really drove the vanadium consumption in China. Today, China is pretty much balanced in terms of supply and demand. It roughly produces and consumes about 50% of the world's vanadium. What does Chinese lower steel production mean for vanadium? Definitely would mean lower demand in China. But what it also means, as you know, is because virtually all vanadium units produced in China come as a byproduct of steel production. So if there is less steel production, there will be also less vanadium produced from these secondary slag producers. What I think would be very interesting, and I think Antoine touched on that, is what would be the net effect if Chinese production of steel reduces, but their need for infrastructure, urbanization remains the same, and they keep on the same targets. This steel will have to be produced somewhere. The kind of obvious beneficiaries are the neighbors, probably Korea, Japan, that have a big steel production infrastructure. And Korea and Japan, they do not produce vanadium slag from their steel production, but they do use a lot more vanadium in their steel. They have a much higher specific consumption of vanadium in their steel. So the net effect, in my mind, if China continues to require the same amount of steel, could actually be positive, because more high quality, high strength steel will have to be imported from neighboring countries with a higher specific consumption of vanadium, and potentially the supply of vanadium will be reduced from Chinese steel slag producers.